Hey everybody, welcome to Two Gems and a Mic. I'm Linda Dorsey, along with my partner in crime, Tanisha, the Diva Mahomes.
Hey, Lynn, it's good to see you. Good to talk to you. It's been a minute.
I know you've been hiding from me this weekend, but I done caught up with you.
Girl, I work hard. What you talking
Yeah,
about? I went home.
whatever. You wasn't working this weekend. You was doing pause and all that other stuff, but we'll let that slide. I get it. I get you on that later on. So
All right then.
today we got a great show. We got great guests. So we have with us today, I want to welcome Darren Smith, host of The Ship on Sports Radio 810 WHB and KLKC. And we also have Walter Jones. Now, Walter has spent 20 plus years as a director of marketing and client services for several prominent sports agencies. Currently, he is a managing partner of One Haven Sports Marketing and Branding, working with NFL athletes, securing branding opportunities, and college athletes to secure NIL deals. Welcome to the show, fellas.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Thanks for having
Yep.
me.
So we gonna jump in, right? Because some of us agree, some of us don't agree, some of us, well, all of us have opinions because we know what they're like, right? And we're gonna get down to the nitty gritty on these NIL deals. I'm gonna start with Tanisha. I'm gonna go ahead and start with you, right? What do you think about the NIL? Good, bad? How do you feel about it?
I feel like it's long overdue. I'm excited about it. I'm happy these kids are out here getting some money for their hard work. A lot of people like to say that they're already getting free rides, but I played sports in college. Nothing free about it. You work hard, and I think they should be compensated.
All right, Darren, what you got?
Well, look, I'm all for the NIL. I believe it's long overdue. I think the NCAA they've gotten rich off the backs of these students in college basketball and college football. Of course, those are the money driven sports. So they've been getting paid and making a lot of money off of these student athletes. And shout out to Ed O'Bannon. Of course, he started it. When he first sued the NCAA, and I believe it was EA Sports, trying to make sure that they got paid off of that. And then, of course, just the movement had started there when he was successful, and so it started. And like the NCAA, they were behind the eight ball, and now we are where we are right now. And again, it's almost like trying to put toothpaste back in the tube, but now that it's out there, I mean, to me, it's a good thing for student athletes to finally get what's been long overdue.
Hey, Walt, I want to ask you a question from two different perspectives, right? So, one, as a person that you're doing this with your company, and then as a person just as a fan, what do you think about the NIL deals?
Well, I totally agree with Tanisha and Darren. I totally agree. It's way past time these student athletes start to be compensated for the hard work that they do, and they're responsible for these millions and millions of dollars that these universities are bringing in. If you go around these D1 schools, you'll see the facilities are state of the art, and that's done because these athletes they're filling the seats every weekend. So it's way past time that these guys when guys and girls start to be compensated, for playing athletics.
I agree with.
And
Go ahead. Go
and
ahead,
like I
Walt.
said, the fact that I'm personally involved is just twofold for me now. I have the opportunity to help secure some of these opportunities for these athletes, but it's way past time.
Yep, I agree with you, and I know what Darren is thinking in his head, right? Linda gonna come out with a but because we done had these conversations. So there is, I don't know if it's a but or if it's a however, right? So I'm all about, or maybe it's both, and I'm all about them getting paid because, like we all can agree on that. Universities, NCAA, everybody has been making millions of dollars, hundreds of millions, and probably billions of dollars off of these kids over the years. You don't make the money without the athletes. So that's a given, that's a fact. What I'm concerned with are a few things, and we can get into it, is where is the line between an NIL deal and just a plain old endorsement? And should there be a line? I'll throw it to you first, Walt.
Honestly, let me just go back a little bit. I think NCAA, their reluctancy to allow this to happen created it created a space to where the horse was out of the stable, everything jumped off just so hard and heavy, and it's not what they wanted or expected to happen, but it's too late. It's out there.
Yeah.
So I think there, with that being the case, is where does it go and what does it do for the sport itself? Now you have high school kids coming to college making more than the professional athlete. So will this do something to, I guess, water down the athletic performance of these kids? Because now I'm making all this money. Do I even care if I go and play at the professional level, or do I try and sustain my body to stay healthy to, continue to secure these deals? So in that respect, even though I'm in it, also I do think something needs to be done, and cap it at some capacity. I don't know what. These are just my personal opinions. But you have a kid getting $8 million before he ever stepped foot on the campus. So now I'm going to the highest bidder. So now you got another D1 school. I'm going to offer him 12 million, and the kid's going to take it. So these kids are going to make more than the professional athlete before they even step on the campus. And it's just going to continue to skyrocket because schools now are getting collectives and boosters that are part of this system that's bringing all this money into these campuses, and they're just distributing it. I'm all for it. I'm all for it, but until it can be controlled, and I don't know how you're going to control it, it's just going to continue to get out of hand, and that's not what I want to see happen. I don't want to
Right.
see it to get out of hand, but I think it's going to.
Right.
I mean,
Darren looks like his head's about to pop off. What you got, Darren?
yeah, it's hard for me to agree with Walt, even though he did agree with me. So and Tanisha too, but more so with me. But see, the problem that I have is when you're talking about trying to cap or put a limit on what someone can make, because we don't do this for other industries. I mean, because if LeBron James is a free agent, he's going to go to the highest bidder and he's free to go wherever he wants to. A kid coming out of high school decide what college he wants, he's free to go wherever he wants to. Now, if Alabama offers him, say, hey, and the collective group comes up with $3 million for this particular athlete, and he wants to go there, fine. But if USC is an option and they offer him more, that's an option. He has that right. He has that freedom. He has that choice to do that. And to try to say, well, we're going to limit what you can make. We don't do this for nobody else, and we don't do this for no other industry. Because if a kid coming out of high school gets a job between Google and Apple, and they want to raise what they offer these people off their salaries, that's their that's the company's right, and that's the right that they have to choose to do that. And so again, we don't we don't say this about kids that attend college that come from a well-off background. So let's just say, for example, LeBron James's child, Bronny, if he goes to Duke or whatever for 1 year, they don't have to offer him scholarship. They don't have to offer him. Obviously, LeBron James is worth $1 billion, but if he wants to branch out on his own and have his own income, he should be able to do that, and it shouldn't be capped off of, oh, well, we can only give you this amount of money because we don't want to hurt the other people's feelings. Well, I mean, if I go out to Sports Radio 810, well, Seren Petro is getting paid a whole lot more than I am. I mean, I can't hate on him for that. I can't be mad at that. I mean, that's what the market offers, and that's what the market bears. And so when we start talking about putting a cap or kind of regulate or say how much they can make, I can't co-sign with that, because we don't do it for nobody else. And like I said, and I've said this before, and I've said it on my show, I have a real hard time when you talk about capping and trying to regulate stuff, because 95% of these deals that are being made towards black athletes, and they don't have a problem making money off the backs of them. But these coaches and people who have a disagreement about it, have an issue with them making that kind of money because, as someone mentioned, they're getting paid more than the professor.
But
What else? So
well,
is, I mean, so is the coach. The coach getting paid more than the university president.
All right, go ahead, Walt, because you
let me
busted at
let
the
me let
same.
me interject. Let me interject this. Let me interject this. So when the lawsuit happened, and it was what it was NCAA versus Austin, Sean Austin, he was the running back for West Virginia, and another basketball player, I think, Justin, a kid out of California. So what they did, they filed suit against the what was the Section 1 of the Sherman Antitrust Act said that there was unreasonable restrictions. So where does the okay? So we're gonna take off the unreasonable restrictions and allow the kids to be compensated monetarily. So where does the unreasonable is lifted? So is $8 million reasonable? They sued because they said it was unreasonable restrictions, not that it was. Let's just go to town with it. So if we remove the unreasonable restrictions and allow these kids to be compensated, then I think at some point there needs to be something to be said that this is unreasonable compensation.
Right.
That's
And
just
is it
that's just
is
my
it
personal opinion
My
because
my, 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 my
it's
my only pushback would be is you don't want somebody telling you how you can spend your money, right? So again, if a collective group or and as you said, let's just say, you know, LDJ, Linda Dorsey Jr., who's getting ready to go to the University of Kansas to play women's basketball.
not gonna
Well,
happen?
but okay, but you go to, I mean, again, you they're going to make more. They're going to make more money off of you than even the money that you're going to get for yourself. So again, why can't you? Again, the amount of money that LeBron James, brings to the Lakers in the NBA, he's being compensated well for it. So again,
That's
if you're
professional sports,
no,
and
no, no,
that
but no, but no, but it's still the same equivalent because look at it. The NCAA, they get over $1 billion a year from TNT and ESPN and CBS, and it's especially when it comes time for the tournament. And why are they getting it? They're not getting it just
and I
because
agree. I
just
agree with
just
you
because it's something.
100% that the players should get, the athletes should get some of that money. Now we've just gone out into a whole nother stratosphere, and that's
No,
what I'm
but
saying, that
no,
it's out of
but I'm
control. But let
but
me,
again,
I know,
I'm circling back
let me
to
let
the point
Tanisha
that you're
get in here
talking
because I
about.
know we've been talking a lot for a few, and Tanisha hasn't said much. Tanisha, go ahead and jump in.
No,
Right.
I mean, I mean, I'll keep saying it over and over again. I mean, I think people, trying to count other people's money has always been a problem for me. I don't like the fact that they want to cap anything. I don't want anybody stifling what my worth is. Telling me, okay, we know you could bring in 20, but we're just gonna let you bring in two. And then maybe next year I get hurt, and now I'm stuck with my two trying to make it work for the rest of my life because I don't have it. I don't, like you said, like I said, degrees don't equal jobs. So that's where my problem is with telling me that there's a certain amount that I can make, because we don't do that in any other walk of life except for these
We do it in
NIL deals with
professional
these kids.
sports. They have caps. They do it in professional sports, so we can't say they
The
don't do it.
owners have
And
the owners have caps. When the
the teams
players go
have
in there,
caps.
that's what I said. The owners have caps. What, depending on the sport we're talking about, whatever sport you're talking about. But my point
All
is, they
professional
have
sports,
max deals too. They have
but they
deals
have
that
caps.
but they're so greatly compensated
But do
that
they
they can
have
say it's a
caps?
max deals and that's it. Yeah, but
And
they're but
it's a yes or
But
no
that
question. Do they
but
yes,
have?
Linda, but
Does
that's a
every
union. But they also have a union representation too.
okay?
That's what the college
And
players
that's
don't
well,
have.
that's one of the things that
exactly.
these student athletes don't have. They don't have any representation. They're representing themselves. So it's out there in the wild.
But they're
My
not all
question was,
representing
hold on a
themselves.
second.
Some of them have
My question, they have
representation, and
answer.
those people
Go.
are, listen to me, those people are, they're providing services to assist with them making sure that they hold up their ends of the deal with
Not
those
all of them.
contracts.
I'm listening
Not all,
to,
but some of them
but
do.
listen.
But
Answer.
you're
Answer.
being
You jump.
naive if you think that everybody is running out here signing contracts blindly.
No, I'm not being naive. I'm listening to attorneys who are saying that they got people coming to them now trying to fix some of these contracts because the kids just saw the dollar sign or the family saw the dollar
right.
sign. They didn't even realize what they were signing. But don't make a statement to say nobody else is. there is a cap. I don't care what the cap is. Cap could be $1 billion. It's capped. Every NFL team, do they have a salary cap? Yes or
Yeah,
no?
we're talking, but those are
Eh,
teams.
yes
Those are
or no?
teams,
Yes, yes
individuals.
Yes,
or no?
Linda.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes,
Just say
yes,
yes
Okay.
so she can feel good
Now I'm
about
yeah.
trying to make a
I mean,
point. Y'all
it.
want to
No.
skirt
yeah.
around it. It's a yes or no question. Walt, you got something?
I'm not
Well, a
done.
lot of these kids don't
We
have
coming back.
representation because a lot of the schools now have collectives, and these 25 collectives, these schools now have NIL departments. So when this kid comes to school, the NIL department takes this kid, and then there. It's the only team. It's the only division that you can do a deal with now. If you sign a scholarship to come to my university, you're gonna be a part of this collective group that we have. So now we're gonna provide you your NIL through the school, and we have exclusive rights on this NIL. So they use their 20 or so collectives and give the kids the car, give the kids the stipend, give the kids the money, give the kids the deals. And when school is out, you're obligated to go to this collective, sign some autographs, and do this and do that. So a lot of kids are going in there blind, signing these contracts, and have no idea what the contract even uh, entail for them to do. So a lot of these kids do not have representation. The school
But that,
have these NIL departments, and they bring these kids in and get them to sign. They
but that
recruit.
doesn't.
They're actually using this NIL as a recruiting tool.
Recruiting tool. Yep.
I
Go
agree
ahead,
they are,
Tanisha.
but what I'm saying is that that doesn't stop them from still yet going out and getting more NIL deals. That doesn't stop that kid who
If
is
you
going to be the superstar on the team. He gonna get that deal, and then he gonna go out here and get him some more deals.
It depends on what state he's in and what school he's at.
if you sign an
No,
exclusive deal with that university, you're not going to go out and get
it, well,
anything
it.
else because that's what
Well, I didn't
that's
know
what the
that they
kids are
could do an
trying to get
exclusive
out
deal.
of these
That's what
exclusivity deals.
that's what he's trying to explain to you. These kids don't
Well,
even
I
They don't
know.
have
understand that they're signing
representation.
this thing because they don't have representation. That's
Well,
that's
I
what we're saying. It's in the wild, wild west. So University X and State X can do this, and University Y is doing this. There is no, and I'm not saying so much cap it, regulate it. So these kids know,
Regulate,
like he
yeah.
said,
but
you're signing an exclusive deal and you don't even know because that exclusive deal says you could.
what school has exclusive
It's
deals that are
it's
preventing kids from
quite
going
a few
anywhere
of them
else?
that have collectives. It's quite a few
No,
of them.
a collective, it doesn't have to be
You have,
exclusive.
They don't have to be, but there are quite
No,
a
no,
few
no.
of them that have collectives that are
but
exclusive that say, if we
Well,
give
I
you
don't
this
know of
money,
any
you're
yet.
not going outside. And that's why we're having this conversation because there's so
I
many
know of one.
unknowns.
I
And
So
know
that's
you
a
of
know of
some.
one?
I know of some. I just helped a kid with the deal at a university, and the contingent was if you sign with this university, we have a collective, we have our NIL department on campus, and we will provide you this amount of money, and this is how you would have to get it, and here's what you would have to do during the off season, during the summer, during the spring. We'll assign collectives to you that's going to give you that portion of that money, and then during the off season and during the summer, you'll go to this individual, to this place of business, whether it be a car dealership or a restaurant or wherever, and you assign autographs on this particular day. But you are exclusive to this university. Therefore, you are not allowed to go out and do NIL deals anywhere else as long as you are a student athlete for this university.
Well,
That
that's
is
if you don't sign
factual.
before
Well,
So
you
you
get to
have
the, that.
kids that do this.
yeah. What was that?
yeah.
Go ahead.
Go,
I was
go
just gonna
ahead,
say,
Darren.
no, I was gonna say that's it. That's if you don't already have one signed before you get to the university. Again, we kind of mentioned it before we got on the air. The wide receiver, high school wide receiver out of California that's going to sign with USC. He's not even there yet. I don't think he's even gotten to his senior season yet. But he signed an NIL deal with the H dot Wood Group or the H Wood Group in Los Angeles. I mean, that's not exclusive to USC. So I mean, so a lot of kids can come to a school with an NIL deal before they even get there. But the now
But
again,
Abs-
Darren,
Absolutely.
Darren,
And I
Tanisha, wait a
and
minute.
I want to
Everybody
say
hold
this.
that thought. Hold that thought. We're going to take a few minutes. We're going to take a break. We're going to take a breather because what you said, I want to touch on that. I want everybody to be able to touch on that because they come into the school with an NIL deal. Is
Okay.
it really an NIL deal? Let's take a few minutes and we'll be right back. All right, everybody, we're back. Two Gems and a mic. We got a good conversation going on. Before we went to break, I kind of cut Tanisha off. You had a few things on your mind. I don't want your head to pop off. Go ahead and let those loose.
No, I was just saying that, trying to exclusive deals. I mean, by my calculation, a lot of the top athletes are already getting their deals coming out of high school. Now, what I will say, if I'm being fair, the transfer portal causes a problem because that to me is basically free agency. And at its fine that at its finest. That's free agency. And here's the thing: the in what I see is the high school athlete kind of getting shoved to the side because am I going to spend my time on this freshman coming in, or am I going to get this transfer from over here at Pitt that was already playing? And bring him over in a team. And I know I got a solid, player. So I'm thinking that may come into play that some of these high school athletes that are 4-star, they might end up not going where they think they're going to go because you got transfer portal people, bringing in some top talent. So I can see that being a little bit of an issue. That, like I said, that's the transfer portal, and then you're talking about the funds, knowing what those collective groups are doing it in those schools can make you change your mind quick where you might want to go. So, but other than that, like I said, I don't have an issue. There's probably not a whole lot you can tell me because at the end of the day, those kids can get hurt at any time and their careers can be over. And I'm all for them having enough money if they can potentially get it off their name to last them, until they can figure out what the next step is in life. So I guess it's kind of my overarching idea on it is that I'm not turning down millions. Nobody turns down money like that, and I don't expect kids to do it.
No, I'm not. I go back to this again. I'm not saying turn it down. What I'm saying is put some kind of structure around it. Right now, there is no structure around it. So when we talk about teaching and educating these athletes on how to manage your money, just like we have to do with some of these professionals, right? How to manage your money, what a contract looks like. Do I need an attorney? How to set up, and some of them just some they have kids. I listened to another show with a bunch of people who are working on some attorneys that are working on these deals. One of them, Darren Heitner, I follow him, and he's been doing NIL deals. He has some concerns also that he shared with that these kids are signing deals. They don't know what they're signing,
Right.
right? Some of them don't. Some of them are very smart now because the word is getting out. So they're setting up LLCs and things like that. Some of them don't have that. So you're going to take $9 million and put it in the bank. Now you got everybody coming around. So you're doing this, you're doing that. Your money's not protected. So it's not. I think so many people say, "Oh, they should get paid. Pay them. Pay." That's fine. Pay them. And then when they're broke because they didn't know how to manage their money, then what? Shame on them. Shame on them.
Same.
Is that what
That's
we
what we
say
said.
to an 18, 19, 20-year old? Shame on you because you blew through whatever millions of dollars and because, mommy, daddy, Uncle Bob, Uncle Bill, Uncle this, Uncle that were all in your pockets and everybody was telling you how you were going to make money? No. Put structure. To me, that just seems like there's no structure around it. The one thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to pass it on, is we talk about name, image, and likeness, right? So define that. I think it needs to be redefined what that is and what that means. I know what the court said, so we can read through that, through the legal mumbo jumbo and all that. My thing is, if you give a kid, and I think it was a quarterback at Ohio State, you give a kid a Bentley, what are you giving him that Bentley for? His name, image, and likeness? So he can drive around in the Bentley and he's showing off the Bentley for you. What is the purpose of that Bentley? What is the purpose of that Aston Martin that was given to a kid or the Ferrari that was given to a kid to drive around on campus? Because they're endorsing your product. How many of those kids on that campus can afford a Bentley? So I just think things is just no structure and it's just out of control. Go ahead, Tanisha, you got something?
Explain Lincoln. Explain them buying his house for way more than market value.
I think there's no.
Explain what is
That's my whole
that?
point. There's no structure around it. The NCAA has no structure, no control. There should be no coach. First of all, that much money, that's a lot of money. Second of all, we know all of that was they're just doing stuff above board now. And then a coach that's allowed to leave in the middle of the season and go to another. I mean, you still had a bowl game to play. So I talked about that when it happened before we even got into this NIL stuff. I just couldn't believe that. But that's a whole different story. I'm not talking about the coaches. I'm just talking about this today. We can talk about the NCAA as a whole on a whole nother episode.
But what did he get that money for? Because of his name. And here's the problem. Here's my problem. It was players out there making those plays. Those players are the reason why he got to get that new house, sell that old house. All of that's off of Lincoln's name, and he took some more people with him when he left.
And what's your
If
point?
that wasn't bad enough, my point
For the
is that
NIL.
nobody said anything when it was the coach.
Nobody said anything?
Nobody. No, not really.
Okay.
Not enough. You didn't change rules. You didn't want to amend nothing.
No, the rules haven't changed now. Me and you didn't have a whole conversation about that, saying it was
That's
horrible.
my point. That's what I'm saying. But there was no uproar that we need to change how much money the coaches make. There was no uproar. People weren't acting a fool. Lincoln is not upset. Lincoln is chilling.
I think
getting ready to get paid. Get ready to get paid.
Yeah,
they didn't change. They didn't change the rules on that.
You probably need to go back.
I mean,
they didn't change the rules.
It was a hot topic for a couple of weeks, and then it wasn't.
Okay, but we still talking about it months later.
No, yeah, to prove a point that if he can get his money, they can get theirs.
And you just keep talking about money.
Yep.
You just talking about
that's
money.
what it's about.
But you know what that man has? That man has an agent. He's got a financial advisor. He's got all that other stuff that these kids don't. So he probably has more structure than they do.
Like
so
you're
missing my point about the structure.
You are naive if you believe that all those kids don't have.
I didn't say all of them. I didn't say all of them.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no structure. What is the structure? What are the things you must do? A, B, C, and D. Well, that's what we were talking about. You know, I go back to you where some of these have these NIL offices. Yeah, maybe it'd be exclusive, but they're going to teach them some finances. They're going to teach them this because they're not learning it in high school. We know that. Right? So if you come from a household where you're living or your family's living paycheck to paycheck, what kind of financial acumen do you really have? You don't. So you're learning it on the fly, but you're learning when somebody slapped, $5, $6, $7 million down in front of you. Bronny James, you were talking about him getting $5 million. His dad's a billionaire. He gonna make sure his money go right. He's got the financial stuff that he needs. He's different. He's different.
But yeah,
you don't lump him in with the rest of them. He got the 5 million, but what I'm saying, he has structure.
1 billion.
You're focused on the dollars. I'm focused on the structure.
And I'm telling you that with money, you can pay for representation to help you. That is all you need. I mean, we can sit here and talk about what steps we could put in, what steps they could put in place. But for you to think that everybody that gets money is going broke because somebody didn't tell them something. I mean, all these kids aren't idiots. I mean, these kids come up in a different era.
Okay, I want you to go back.
They know how to research. They're watching other people. They've watched They're watching other people before them. They understand that there's some steps that need to be taken. I don't believe that every kid is turning around and going, "Oh, I'm signing the deal and don't know what I just did." I don't believe that.
But there's grown people.
I believe the agents are coming at them early. Those NIL people, agencies are coming at them and helping them.
And you're naive if you think that people talk to Kurt Schilling, talk to
he was a grown man.
Talk to right.
He was a grown man making that messing up. So what's his excuse?
There is no excuse. But that's what I'm saying. And you expect the kid to do even better
because he's a professional athlete, and they give you that training as a professional athlete.
Okay, we can beat that to death. But you just made the point that they can surround themselves with all of these people, and you can then where you make bad investments because they're not smart enough, and you're trusting of people. That's what I'm saying.
Everybody don't make bad investments.
Okay, Darren, what you got?
Well, I mean, I'm alongside what Tinesha as it relates to, I'm not one. Look, I get what you're talking about when it comes to structure and stuff like that, but to me, that's still code for putting a cap or trying to regulate how much someone makes or whatever. And that's the part that I have a hard time dealing with and agreeing with, because it's just because at the end of the day, you're still trying to figure out a way to limit the amount of money that I'm able to make.
I'm
And
not. That's not
no,
what I'm
well,
saying
no,
at
no, I'm
all.
saying no, but at some point, that's what's going to come down to. Because again, technically there is no quote unquote salary cap on this NIL stuff, but you may mention before in a previous discussion about, well, people being jealous or teammates or whatever, and because everybody's not gonna make what the star quarterback makes. Everybody's not gonna make what the star point guard makes.
Agreed.
But when you say structure, look, I mean, it falls. Look, there's a collective group of who is responsible. Obviously, the student athlete is responsible. Their parents, if they have one, is responsible. The coach, to some extent, is responsible, because again, the coach is recruiting them. So if you're trying to say, hey, we got this stuff, you should already have a structure in place for when you bring these kids in to and you're talking about what you're trying to do and what you're trying to offer them. So if you're going to give a student athlete an NIL deal that's a collective through the university, then the university should already have something already planned and in store, and the proper training and the proper education to educate those students. Because again, you don't have to be a student athlete to be broke. I mean, we've seen and NFL players and NBA players that have made hundreds of $1 million that have gone broke. So so you don't have to have an age limit on being broke, or being blessed, financially blessed.
I agree. Go ahead, Tanisha.
Agreed.
What you got?
I was actually just agreeing with him. That's what I meant by the Kurt Schilling, the comment about Kurt Schilling. What's his excuse? You don't need it's everybody. It's not everybody is not a buffoon. Everybody isn't making money mistakes. I mean, I think it's when you say you're not trying to cap the money. Well, if you put a cap, if you put a number on the money, then it is a cap. If you say, hey, you know what, we need to get these kids some education, so before you can get an NIL deal, you have to take X amount of hours of training and financial education or whatever. I'm more on line with that. I'm more on target with, we're going to require them, because I know, like at the University of Texas, they do, because when we were looking up for one of the athletes that we were interested in trying to get NIL deals with, I know that the University of Texas had a class that they required their players to take. So I would think that they're not the only ones. And just like you said, there's a lot of people that have a responsibility. That coach that's recruiting, that's offering all that, offering those incentives for the kids, the parents. You know what I'm saying? And the agent per se. So, and the kid himself. So I keep going back to the fact that, if we're talking structure, then we need to be talking about maybe requiring them to take a class, a financial class, if you're getting NIL deal. But you can't have the 10. You got to
That
take the 3. No.
no, that I you keep going back to the money because that's what you're hung up on. How much money? I don't know if the cap is the right thing. I don't even know if this is sustainable. Right? We don't know. We'll see 2, 3, 5 years down the road if it's sustainable. What I'm just saying is there's no structure. It's the wild, wild west, because this state is doing this, that university is doing this state is doing that, that university is doing that. So to me, then I think it has in some cases, you said it yourself, a negative impact on the game. Because if this kid goes out and he's, has, or she, whoever the athlete goes out and has a great game, the transfer portal is already crazy. So this kid goes out and has a great season, and they're at University Y, and University Y is giving them, X amount of money in NIL deals or whatever, right? University X whispers in their ear, come to me. I can give you an extra $10 million. Go ahead, Walt.
That, has, that just happened. You had a kid by the name of Isaiah Wong,
Yep.
uh, from Miami. His
Mm-hmm.
agent put it out there. If you don't give my kid, if you don't increase his NIL deal, he's putting in for a transfer. So it's like you said, it lacks structure. I'm all for the kids getting paid. They need to. It's past time. These schools are compensating hand over fist off of the hard work of these young girls and young boys. So they need to be
Mhm.
compensated. But there needs to be some type of structure in place that's going to prevent a lot of what's happening right now from happening, because I would hate to see, who knows what's going to happen. I don't know, but I just think something more needs to be done to bring some more structure in how this is going to do to
And I
prevent some of the things that are happening now.
Right. And I say
That part,
to
Walt.
me, yep. And to me, I'm like, call it what it is, right? So we always want to talk about, not we. So the title is the student athlete, right? We see the commercials and all that. Get rid of the student, because ain't a damn soul talking about what their kids gonna do in the classroom or what they want to be or what they're going to school for. What they're going to school for is to take those minimum grades, those minimum classes, and get the minimum grades they can do to get to the next level. When we're talking about these kids, it's not about them growing, a majority of them growing. It's about getting to the next level. So the student athlete is gone to me, and I think that was the thing that I'm torn. I'm actually torn because I want them to get the money. I want these kids. Some of these kids, it's not even I just want them to get the money. Some of these kids need the money because they're in such dire straits. Their family. We hear the stories of these kids that make it to the pros and the stories that they tell. Some of them are heartbreaking.
Mhm.
I mean, we go back to, I think it was Warwick Dunn, you know, years ago. He's given back to the communities and has given back for years, but having to raise, you know, his siblings and kids that have had to do that. So yeah, I want them to get so they can take care of those things and don't have to. That's a lot of pressure on a kid to go out and say, I've got to make it. I've got to make it to the next level to take care of my family. This does lessen the burden. So I may be talking out of both sides of my mouth. Maybe that's what it sounds like, but I get both sides of it. But I also at that same time want to be able to protect, and I think it's gone. I think it was gone before, the sanctity of college sports.
Yeah.
It was like, go to the best school, go to this. That school has the nicest facilities because we know how they all dress it up when you come for those recruiting deals. Now it's like, hey, the money ain't, Darren, you said it earlier, right? The money ain't under the table anymore. It's over the table.
Well,
So
I'll say this. I was listening to Deion Sanders as well. And one of the things that he said when he got to Jackson State, he said that there was almost a trench on the side of the field. So if a kid caught an out pass, he'd probably break his ankle. And he said and one had before. So part of their collective NIL, they've actually been getting things done within the college to make the college more presentable, an actual weight room. So there are some other good things that can come from that, from the NIL deals, and the way that you can get those groups together and get enough money to make the facility better. I
is
mean,
that is that NIL or is that separate, like from boosters?
that's
I think that's
NIL. No,
boosters.
those are through NIL, so through the collective, through the collective group. It's boosters and donors that come together.
Are
Am
they
I
given
right,
to a kid or are they given to a
Walt?
university?
That's to the university.
That's different.
Why? The university is saying to the kids, hey, come here. Now I have a better facility. I have things to attract the kid now. What do you mean?
I don't think that's under name, image, and likeness. I think that's under a booster giving to like the facilities like they were doing before. I think that may be a little different. Well, go ahead. You
Well,
had
that's
something.
not the way he explained it, but maybe it
Yeah, I
is.
think that's slightly different because the NIL is specifically for the name, image, and likeness of the kid, not the university. The university, they have their own collectives that, and boosters that, contribute to the needs of the university. But I don't think the NIL deal is doing any of that for the university. The NIL deal is specifically for the kids, name,
Well, I'm gonna make
likeness.
sure that I check. I'm gonna make sure that I go back, but I'm pretty sure
No,
that's what
double
Dion
check that. He
said.
was looking for donors. He had sponsors and donors that were given
Yeah.
to the schools and given
Oh yeah,
back to the schools themselves. Not he's also working on the other part of it, but he also made the statement that,
maybe it
you
was in
know,
reference to the lax laws of in certain states from the NIL. Maybe
well,
that was a
yeah,
piece of it.
it was a couple of comments. He did say, "Hey, so I'm saying, hey, NCA, now what? Because you can't. Okay, yep, you can't pay the coaches and everything to now the coaches are not the financial advisors. But we could talk about this for days. We could talk about it for hours. I'll give everybody 30 seconds. Give me your final thoughts in 30 seconds. We're gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna start with you, Darren.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, as I said before, the NCAA, they waited behind the eight ball to get this done, and now you're trying to put toothpaste back in the tube. It's not going to happen. I don't see Congress really putting any laws out there, because if you're worth your weight, if you're worth your pound of flesh, if you're in the Black Congressional Caucus, I'm voting it down, and I'm fighting it every since, because it's going to affect more of the African American student athlete than anyone else, that's NIL. So I'm against that, against any type of regulation or cap or anything like that. So if it goes to the federal level, I expect them to be against it. So that's where I stand.
Okay, Tanisha.
I'm pro a little bit of structure, like you said. I definitely think it needs some, but I'm structuring the format of these kids needing courses, these kids being required to take courses before they can even accept some of the deals for the university specifics. When you're saying exclusive deals, in that form, definitely for some structure there. But like I said, life isn't fair. And if I can get mine, I'm going for it. So I'm not upset at these kids. I'm not upset at these kids for getting as many deals as they can possibly get. And like I said, they risk their body. They take risk with injuries, and it can be over at any time. So if you can fatten your pocket, that could potentially save you long term. I'm all for that.
Okay, so you Bernie Mac. I got
Yes, I
mine.
am.
You better get yours. Okay.
Absolutely.
Walt, go ahead. What you got?
Hey, I'm totally all for it. It's like I said earlier, it's way past time these kids, student athletes, start to be compensated for the hard work that they do. And I'm glad that a lawsuit was filed, the floodgates were open. Let's open the gate, let's let the horses out, and then we'll figure out how to structure it better. But I'm
Yeah.
glad the gates were open and the floodgates just poured out. Now let's just figure out a way to put a little more structure to it. But we did make it happen. It's happening, and I think it's going to be a good thing moving forward. We just got to figure out how to not necessarily regulate it, but put more structure to it.
All
Absolutely.
right. Thank you. I want to thank Darren. I want to thank Walt for joining us. And of course, my girl Tanisha. Show went a little long, but I think it was great conversation. I'm gonna think of another topic where we can all get back together. But
Part
like I
two.
we all that's right, part two of this. Like we always say, hey, if we talking about it, you need to hear about it. And until next time, be kind, be blessed.